Hello everybody, we are going to discuss dual slit experiment. It is the second lecture of the series of the quantum mechanics. According quant dual slit experiment is the most important experiment in the quantum mechanics. Quant, uh, Dual slit experiment is also very counterintuitive. So research Feynman said that about this experiment that is we choose to examine a phenomena which is impossible, absolutely impossible to explain in any classical way, and which has in it the heart of the quantum mechanics. So you can understand through the Feynman quotation why this experiment so important in quantum mechanics. Okay, so what is the experimental setup of the dual slit experiment? That is the electron gun. This electron gun fires the electrons, and there is a dual slit. Okay, and there is a skin. When the two slits are open, this electron produce the interference pattern. This is extremely strange for us to understand how the elementary particles such as electrons produce this interference pattern. Interference patterns are produced by the waves, not the particles, not by the particles. So how it is possible to produce such pattern for by electrons? Observation of the experiment. Historically, it was observed that the electron is a particle because it has E by M ratio by uh, it has electric charge and mass. So that is a particle. But when we pass these electrons through the slits, we observe that there is interference pattern on the skin. What the wave do, not the particles. In the context of classical physics, as far as we can understand through the classical physics, these waves produce the interference pattern and particles do not produce the interference pattern. But in the case of the dual slit experiment, it is inverse. It is odd. How an atom, sorry, how a particle can do this interference pattern. This experiment shocks not only the ordinary people but even physicists. So observation, again observation. There is a source and there is a some kind of slits, and this there is a two slits. When the either of the one slit is open, this produce these lamps. When upper slit is open, this produce the upper lamps, and when the lower slit are open, this produce the lower arms. And when the two slits are open, this produce the interference pattern, which is extremely counterintuitive in the context of classical physics. The electron can emit one particle at a time. Electron can emit one particle at a time. To see the awareness of the basic quantum mechanics, we allow one electron to pass through the slits. For waves, it is not extremely difficult or any problematic to understand how the waves produce this uh, produce this uh, interference pattern. But how the one electron at a time pass through the slits and goes interference pattern appear. That is extremely counterintuitive. We we can we can say that when two electrons, suppose there is a two electron emit the emit by the electron gun, and there is a one electron go from the upper slit, and there is a another electron goes from the lower slit, and this get do the they do the interference. But when the one electron goes from the one slit and to one slit, how can they uh, interfere, and how the after the many successive uh, runs of the electron guns, this produce the reconstruct the interference pattern. This is extremely strange. So superposition principle for the electron. In the previous lecture, I also mentioned that there is a the superposition principle in the quantum mechanics is extremely counterintuitive. So, most striking feature of the quantum mechanics is that the single electron can appear more than one place at a time to superimpose and interfere, so that after the many arrival of electrons on the slit, it appears as an interference pattern. So that is that. Suppose suppose one electron goes from these slits and another the suppose there is one electron emit. Okay, one goes to the there is a two possibilities, either go from one this slit and another possibility that it goes from this slit. And when we don't know this, when we don't know from which slit it is go, we have to count two possibilities, and these description are given by the wave function. So we have to add two wave function to get the correct probability at the skin to appear the to find the interference pattern. Okay, so to to know, the knowledge of which path it goes is called which path information. It is very clear that in dual slit experiment the electron pass through the both slits, but we never observe such phenomena. It is the only possible explanation to describe the physics behind the dual slit experiment. But if we observe in which path information the electron goes, we lose the interference pattern, and we call the information of which path it goes as a which path information. Complementarity principle. The knowledge of which path information determines the fact that we observe the wave or particle nature of the electron. If it is known to us, we see the particle nature, that is the two lumps of the cluster in the skin. Otherwise, it is unknown. Then we see the wave nature interference pattern. Niels Bohr stated it as a fundamental principle of quantum mechanics, the complementarity principle. So that is all about the dual slit experiment. Thank you for listening.